I've spent 50 years in aviation, and what I'm about to tell you could genuinely safeguard your digital life, far beyond just saving you a few dollars. Most passengers don't realize it, but airports, with all their shiny tech and seemingly helpful amenities, are teeming with unseen digital traps. While not intentionally deceptive, they certainly don't go out of their way to warn you about the hidden dangers lurking in plain sight. Let me share a story about Eleanor Vance, a charming 70-year-old grandmother from Denver, flying to see her grandchildren in Orlando. She just wanted to charge her phone before her flight, a simple act of convenience we all take for granted. Eleanor found a public USB charging station conveniently located near Gate 32 at O'Hare International. The bustling terminal was a blur around her, but she settled into a seat, grateful for the chance to top off her battery. Within 10 minutes of plugging in, her phone displayed a green icon, fully charged, or so she thought. She unplugged her device, feeling a little less anxious about the long flight ahead. What Eleanor didn't realize was that while her battery icon glowed green, her most personal data was quietly being siphoned away, byte by byte. By the time her plane touched down in Orlando a few hours later, someone halfway across the globe was already attempting to access her banking applications and even book a brand new credit card in her name. This wasn't some random hack. This was a targeted attack, a sophisticated scam known as juice jacking. The airport doesn't advertise it, but these schemes are rampant in public charging stations across the country, especially in high-traffic hubs like O'Hare. The problem is simple. Those public USB ports, designed for convenience, can be rigged with malicious software or malware that copies data directly from your device the moment you plug it in. Imagine handing your phone to a stranger, allowing them full access to everything from your photos to your social security number. That's essentially what happens when you connect to a compromised port. These opportunists exploit our reliance on technology and our constant need for power, turning a simple convenience into a serious vulnerability. They count on you being unaware, distracted, or simply too trusting. So, what can you do? The solution is thankfully simple and incredibly effective. First, always, and I mean always, carry a portable power bank. These little devices are a lifesaver and let you charge your phone or tablet safely from your own personal power source. They come in all sizes and can usually provide several full charges, ensuring you're never scrambling for an outlet. Second, if you absolutely must use a public USB port because your power bank is dead or you forgot it, invest in a USB data blocker. This tiny dongle, no bigger than your thumbnail, plugs into the USB port first, and then you plug your charging cable into the blocker. It acts as a firewall, allowing electricity to flow through to charge your device, but blocking any data transfer whatsoever. It costs less than a fancy airport coffee, maybe $8 or $10, but it could save you thousands in fraudulent charges and countless hours of identity theft recovery. Don't let the convenience of a free charge be your biggest mistake. It's easy to get complacent in the hustle and bustle of travel, but a moment of awareness can make all the difference. Have you ever seen these public charging stations and thought nothing of it? Next time you're in an airport, take a good look at them. They're everywhere, and they're waiting. This small device, or a fully charged power bank, could be the most important travel accessory you own, ensuring that your journey is filled with pleasant memories, not financial headaches. Be smart, be safe, and keep your digital life secure, because the skies might be open, but the digital highway in airports sometimes has some very unexpected tolls. We just discussed how a tiny $8 USB data blocker could shield your digital life from unseen threats in busy airports. But what about your physical belongings, your passports, your wallets? As someone who spent 50 years in and around the aviation industry, I've witnessed countless travelers fall prey to a different kind of airport predator, the one that preys on your stress, your politeness, and the overwhelming nature of travel itself. This next piece of advice could be the difference between a memorable trip and a travel nightmare. Imagine this. It was a bustling afternoon at Dallas-Fort Worth, one of the busiest airports in the world, and the terminals buzzed with the energy of thousands of eager travelers. Arthur and Patricia Miller, with their 2 young children, 7-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Sam, were attempting to navigate this sprawling maze. They were on their way to Miami for what was supposed to be a dream family vacation. Their arms ached, laden with 4 large suitcases, 2 carry-on bags, and a bulky stroller that felt more like a stubborn ox than a convenient piece of equipment. Lily was pulling at Patricia's sleeve, asking for a snack, while Sam was protesting loudly about walking another foot. Just as Arthur felt his patience begin to fray, a man approached them. He was wearing a dark blue polo shirt that, from a quick glance, appeared to be an official airport uniform, though no identification badge was visible. He offered a wide, reassuring smile. "Need a hand with those, folks? Express cart service right this way. We'll get you to check in no time." Arthur, immensely grateful for the unexpected relief, didn't hesitate. He handed over 2 of their heaviest suitcases and 1 of Patricia's carry-on bags, the very one that contained their passports, all their cash, and their credit cards. The helper led them quickly, weaving through the thick crowds, supposedly toward a special check-in line. But then, without warning, he veered sharply to the right, claiming the line was wrong, and vanished into a sea of people near a bustling food court. He was gone, along with their carry-on. Arthur and Patricia looked at each other, their relief instantly replaced by a cold wave of dread. Their hearts pounded. The passports, the wallets, everything essential for their trip was now gone. They searched frantically, calling out, but the man had simply disappeared. It turned out he was no employee at all, just a predatory scammer who had expertly mimicked official airport staff, exploiting the Millers' exhaustion and natural politeness. The problem, which I've seen play out far too many times, is that these scammers are masters of deception. They blend in, often wearing uniforms that look just authentic enough, preying on the inherent trust and hurried distraction of passengers. They know you're tired, you're stressed, and you're probably just eager to get where you're going. Their entire strategy relies on your politeness and the overwhelming nature of navigating a large airport, especially when you're managing children or an excessive amount of luggage. They capitalize on the fact that you often don't have time to properly scrutinize someone who seems to be offering help. So, how do you avoid falling into this trap? It's simple, but it requires vigilance. First and foremost, always look for official uniforms with clearly visible, laminated identification badges. Actual airport employees, airline staff, and authorized service personnel will always have these prominently displayed. If someone offers assistance unsolicited and doesn't have visible identification, politely but firmly decline their offer. Say, "No, thank you, I've got it," or "I'll manage, but I appreciate it." don't feel rude. You're protecting yourself and your family. If you genuinely need help with your bags, your best bet is to seek out clearly marked airport or airline staff at designated information desks or check-in counters. Never, and I mean never, let your bags out of your immediate sight, especially those containing your most valuable items. Keep them on your person or securely attached to your other luggage. The miller's dream vacation was shattered that day, all because of one moment of trust in the wrong person. This next tip could save you your vacation. I've spent 50 years in aviation, and trust me, what I'm about to tell you could save you hundreds of dollars and a ton of heartache. Most passengers assume that once you're past security, or even inside the airport terminal, you're in a safe zone. We put our trust in the airports, the airlines, the whole system. But I'm here to tell you that trust can be expensive. The truth is, some of the most insidious traps are hidden in plain sight, preying on our exhaustion and the rush to get where we're going. Let me tell you about Bill and how a quick stop at an airport ATM almost cost him a fortune. Imagine William Bill Johnson, a 55-year-old marketing executive, stepping off a long flight into the bustle of LAX. He'd just landed from a business trip to Seattle, tired but ready to get home to Boston. All he wanted was to grab his bags and catch a rideshare. Bill knew the rideshare apps often preferred cash tips, so he veered towards an ATM he spotted near baggage claim, nestled between a coffee shop and a newsstand. It looked clean, well-lit, and official. He inserted his debit card, punched in his 4-digit PIN, and out came $50. Everything seemed perfectly normal, just another quick transaction in a busy airport. He tucked the cash into his wallet, grabbed his bags, and headed for his ride. But what Bill didn't know was that while his $50 dispensed, something else was quietly happening. A tiny device, almost imperceptible, had just captured his card information and recorded his PIN. A few days later, back in the comfort of his home in Boston, Bill was reviewing his bank statement online. His brow furrowed. There were several unfamiliar charges, hundreds of dollars, totaling nearly $650, all spent at electronics stores he'd never even heard of. His stomach dropped. That seemingly innocent ATM transaction at LAX had been a trap. A classic case of ATM skimming. The problem, you see, is that these skimming devices are getting incredibly sophisticated. They're not those clunky, obvious overlays from a decade ago. We're talking about wafer-thin attachments that fit perfectly over the card reader's slot, designed to look identical to the real thing. Some even have tiny pinhole cameras cleverly disguised to capture your PIN as you enter it, or pressure-sensitive pads that overlay the actual keypad. Airport ATMs, though seemingly secure, are often targets because of the high volume of transient users, many of whom are distracted or in a hurry, making them less likely to notice subtle irregularities. These criminals know you're tired. Your mind is on your flight, not on scrutinizing a cash machine. So, how do you avoid becoming another Bill Johnson? It's simple, but it requires a quick moment of vigilance. Every single time you approach an ATM, especially in a busy, high-traffic area like an airport, you need to do a quick physical inspection. Before you insert your card, gently wiggle the card reader slot. Try to move it up, down, side to side. Does it feel loose? Does it seem like an attachment rather than part of the machine. Next, tap around the pin pad itself. Press on the edges. If anything feels raised, spongy, or like an overlay, that's a red flag. These devices are often held on with double-sided tape, making them susceptible to a firm tug or wiggle. If anything at all feels or looks suspicious, even a slightly misaligned graphic or a different texture, do not use that ATM. Your best bet is to find another one, preferably inside an actual bank branch, where security is typically tighter and machines are more regularly inspected. Even better, whenever possible, stick to contactless payment methods. Using your phone or a tap-to-pay card at point-of-sale terminals encrypts your data differently, making it much harder for skimmers to steal your information. You wouldn't hand your wallet to a stranger, right? So don't hand your valuable card details to a compromised machine. Staying one step ahead of these clever criminals isn't about paranoia, it's about smart travel. Now, let's talk about something else airports don't want you to know. Airports often keep quiet about, a lesson that cost Martha Davis a significant chunk of her travel budget and a whole lot of peace of mind. I've spent 50 years navigating these terminals, and I've seen this exact scenario play out more times than I care to count, especially with folks just excited to start their adventure. Imagine Martha, a proud 68-year-old retired teacher from Phoenix, stepping off her flight into the bustling international terminal at Heathrow for her very first solo trip to London. The air hummed with excitement. She'd planned this trip for years, dreaming of Big Ben and Buckingham Palace. But her immediate need was local cash for a taxi, a good 20-mile ride into the city. As she navigated the concourse, still a bit disoriented from the 7-hour time difference, she spotted a brightly lit kiosk tucked away from the main bank counters, its sign boldly promising, "Best exchange rates! Avoid bank fees!" A man behind the counter, perhaps in his early 30s, with a wide, welcoming smile, waved her over. He assured her he could get her much better rates than those big, stuffy banks. Martha, eager to get on her way and trusting his friendly demeanor, decided to exchange $200, watching as he quickly counted out a stack of British pounds and handed them over. Martha tucked the money into her purse, feeling a slight flutter of victory at having, she thought, outsmarted the more expensive airport banks. She hailed a black cab, gave the driver her hotel address, and when they arrived after a 35-minute journey, she pulled out a 20-pound note. The driver, a kind-faced man, held it up to the light, then slowly shook his head, pointing to a small, almost imperceptible detail near the Queen's portrait. It was a counterfeit. Her heart sank. Not only was that 20 pounds worthless, but it turned out the exchange rate she received had been absolutely terrible, almost $50 less than she should have gotten for her $200. What started as an exciting adventure turned into a disheartening moment of confusion and disappointment. What happened to Martha is a classic airport scam, preying on the urgency and unfamiliarity of travelers. These unofficial currency exchangers, or those in less reputable kiosks, often operate with two goals in mind. First, to give you an exorbitant exchange rate that strips away a huge chunk of your money right off the top. And second, to sometimes slip counterfeit currency into your stack, hoping you won't notice until it's too late. They thrive on the chaos and the common desire to save a few bucks, often positioning themselves just far enough from official bank branches to appear as an alternative. So, how do you avoid becoming another Martha? It's straightforward, but it demands your vigilance. Always, and I mean always, exchange currency at official bank branches or well-known reputable exchange bureaus. Many major airports have actual bank branches or dedicated branded exchange counters that are clearly affiliated with larger financial institutions. Ideally, you should check current exchange rates online before you even leave for your trip. Websites like xe.com or oanda.com can give you real-time interbank rates, so you know exactly what a fair exchange should look like. If an advertised rate at a kiosk looks too good to be true, it absolutely is. When you do exchange money, whether it's at a bank counter or an ATM, take your time. Before you walk away from the counter, carefully count your money. Don't feel rushed by the person behind the glass or by the line behind you. Verify that you have the correct amount, and importantly, familiarize yourself with the security features of the local currency, especially for larger bills. Look for watermarks, security strips, and raised printing. A quick search on your phone for currency security features will show you what to look for. And if you're using an ATM, stick to machines located inside secure bank areas where they're regularly monitored and less likely to be tampered with. This simple check takes less than 30 seconds, but it can save you hundreds of dollars and a ton of headache. Smart travelers know that convenience shouldn't come at the cost of security. Now, speaking of getting ripped off, let's talk about the tricks airports use to get you to spend a fortune on something as simple as getting to your hotel. I've logged nearly 5 decades navigating this industry, and believe me, what airports sometimes let slide right under their noses can hit your wallet for hundreds of bucks and crank up your stress levels through the roof, especially when all you want to do is get from the terminal to your hotel. This is a common trap, particularly for exhausted travelers. Just recently, I heard about a young couple, Sarah and David Thompson, who learned this lesson the hard way at Newark Liberty. Picture this. You've just touched down after a long flight. Your body's screaming, your head still buzzing from the time change, and all that's on your mind is the sweet relief of a hotel pillow. That's precisely how Sarah and David Thompson, a vibrant 30-year-old couple from Austin, Texas, felt landing at Newark. They were practically vibrating with excitement for their long-awaited New York City getaway. The Big Apple was calling their name, a dream trip about to begin. As they wrangled their surprisingly heavy luggage through the bustling baggage claim at Newark Liberty International Airport, their initial thrill started to butt heads with the exhaustion of their 5-hour journey. Public transportation? It felt like climbing Mount Everest in their current state. Stepping out of the terminal, blinking against the bright afternoon sun, they were instantly approached by a man in a rumpled suit. "Taxi! Best price to Manhattan!" he practically sang, a practiced, almost too friendly smile plastered on his face, his voice slicing through the general airport clamor. Sarah and David exchanged a quick, questioning look. He wasn't sporting the typical yellow cab uniform, nor did his beat-up sedan carry the official taxi medallion. Something felt off. Yet his offer to bypass the notoriously long taxi line was incredibly tempting. All they truly craved was their hotel bed in Midtown. He quoted a flat rate of $50. It sounded like a steal. They agreed, their vacation officially kicking off. What could possibly go wrong? But the real story began as their driver merged into the thick airport traffic. He took a route so incredibly circuitous, winding through what felt like an endless maze of highways and backstreets, all while blaming heavy traffic. Sarah, smart and quick, pulled up Google Maps. Her heart sank. They were miles out of the way, adding serious time and distance to their trip. Her initial excitement curdled into a cold, gnawing anxiety. David, usually the picture of calm, found his jaw clenching. When they finally pulled up to their Manhattan hotel, nearly an hour and a half after leaving the airport, the driver's friendly mask dropped. "That'll be an extra $20 for tolls and bridge fees," he declared, his eyes now hard as flint. He didn't just hint. He made it brutally clear they and their luggage would be unceremoniously dumped on the curb if they didn't pay up. Stranded, exhausted, and feeling utterly helpless, they grudgingly forked over the cash. This kind of shakedown is a textbook case of how unlicensed taxi and rideshare operators work. They prey on tired, disoriented travelers, especially at bustling hubs like Newark Liberty, John F. Kennedy, or LAX. These hustlers will quote an exorbitant flat rate. Sarah and David's $50 to Manhattan should have been closer to $40 for a legitimate metered cab before standard tolls. Or they'll hook you with a ridiculously low upfront price. Then they'll drag you on a scenic tour, sometimes literally circling blocks, only to ambush you with surprise fees once you're at your destination. Or worse, while you're still stuck in traffic. Those tolls and bridge fees? Pure fiction, or wildly inflated. It's all a calculated move to squeeze more cash out of unsuspecting folks desperate to just finish their trip. So, how do you steer clear of this infuriating, even frightening situation? The answer is simple and demands just a dash of planning. Always, and I mean always, head straight for the official airport taxi stands. They're clearly signed, usually staffed with a dispatcher, and guarantee you a licensed driver with a metered fare. Your other smart move is to pre-book a car service through a reputable company, locking in your fare up front. Or stick to legitimate rideshare apps like Uber or Lyft. But even with those, you've got to be sharp. Before you even think about opening that door, verify 3 critical details. 1. Does the driver's name match what's on your app? 2. Is the license plate number on the car identical to what's displayed? And 3. Is the car's make and model exactly what you requested? Never, ever take a ride from someone who approaches you directly, no matter how charming they appear, or how incredible the deal sounds. These unsolicited offers are almost always a setup. If you ever feel unsafe, pressured, or realize you've made a misstep, don't hesitate. Walk away. Find an official information desk, flag down an airport employee, or call a legitimate service on your cell phone. Your safety and your hard-earned cash absolutely hinge on taking those extra few moments. And trust me, I've seen countless travelers lose a significant chunk of change simply because they skipped these basic checks. That $70 Sarah and David forked over, a full $30 more than a legitimate fare, could have paid for a fantastic dinner or tickets to a Broadway show. Next, let's unpack another sneaky spot where airports quietly pick your pocket. Those innocent-looking baggage carts. Do you know how much money I've seen travelers lose because they skipped these simple checks? Plenty. That $70 Sarah and David paid, an extra $30 over a legitimate fare, could have bought them a nice dinner or tickets to a show. Next, let's talk about another place where airports quietly drain your wallet. Those seemingly harmless baggage carts. While those little rolling helpers can sometimes come with a hidden fee, they're nothing compared to the financial black hole that is often the rental car counter. Believe me, I've seen more than my share of travelers get burned there. This is a common ground for false damage claims and hidden rental fees, and it's something every traveler needs to be aware of. Just ask Robert Sterling, a 45-year-old father from Chicago whose dream family vacation almost turned into a nightmare. Robert had meticulously planned a week-long trip to Orlando, Florida, with his wife and 2 young daughters, ages 7 and 9. A spacious minivan was essential for all their gear and tired kids, so he'd pre-booked one from a major rental agency right at Orlando International Airport. When he picked up the vehicle, he confidently opted out of the rental company's expensive insurance, knowing his personal auto policy back home provided comprehensive coverage. He quickly scanned the exterior, saw no obvious major damage, and signed the paperwork.
The agent, a young man who looked barely out of his teens, seemed in a hurry, pushing Robert through the process with a clipped efficiency that left little room for questions. Eager to get his family to the hotel, Robert loaded their luggage and drove off the lot, thinking everything was in order. 7 magical days later, after countless roller coaster rides and character meet and greets, Robert returned the minivan to the rental facility at Orlando International. The return agent, a different person entirely, walked around the vehicle, gave a cursory glance, and handed Robert a receipt indicating everything was settled. Robert thought nothing more of it. His family boarded their flight back to Chicago, buzzing with vacation stories, and Robert felt a quiet satisfaction that his budgeting and planning had paid off. But 2 days after they were back home, settling into their routine, Robert received an email that made his heart sink. The subject line read, "Updated rental charges." He opened it, his stomach tightening with a premonition. The email outlined a new charge of over $800. The reason? Underbody damage and a scratched fender that supposedly occurred during his rental period. $800! Robert's jaw tightened. He knew for a fact that car was pristine when he returned it. He had even given it a quick once-over in the bright Florida sun before handing over the keys. There were no new scratches, and certainly no underbody damage that he was aware of. Robert immediately called the rental company, a knot of frustration tightening in his chest. He was met with polite but firm resistance. The agent on the phone calmly explained that the damage was noted by their inspection team after he returned the car, and that he was liable. When Robert argued that the damage wasn't there when he returned it, the agent simply said, "Sir, we have a record of the damage. Do you have proof it wasn't there?" The truth is, some unscrupulous rental agencies exploit the chaos of a busy airport, banking on travelers being distracted and rushed. They might have a vehicle with pre-existing, unrecorded damage, and then, a day or 2 after you return it, they'll conveniently discover it and blame you. It's a sneaky tactic designed to catch unsuspecting renters who don't meticulously document the car's condition. So how do you protect yourself against a hidden rental fee like this? The solution is crucial, and it's something I urge every single one of you to do without fail. Before you even think about driving that rental car off the lot, take detailed, time-stamped photos or a video of every single inch of the car. I mean, every inch. Get the tires, the hubcaps, the roof, the windshield, and especially the underside, if you can visibly capture it with your phone. Walk around the entire vehicle, focusing on any existing scratches, dents, chips, or any form of damage, no matter how minor. Open the doors and photograph the interior, too. Capture the dashboard, the seats, the floor mats. Do this meticulously when you pick up the car. Then, when you return the vehicle, Do it all again. Take a fresh set of time-stamped photos or a video showing the car's condition right before you hand over the keys. This visual evidence is your absolute best defense against false claims. Without it, it's often your word against theirs, and that's a battle you'll likely lose, just like Robert almost did. Imagine being faced with an $800 charge for something you didn't do, with no way to prove your innocence. It's a gut-wrenching feeling. Always protect yourself with concrete proof. Those time-stamped photos and videos serve as an undeniable record, proving the car's condition at both pickup and drop-off. If a rental company tries to hit you with bogus charges, you'll have the evidence to back yourself up. It's a simple step that takes maybe 5 minutes, but it can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars and a ton of stress. Robert, fortunately, had snapped a few quick photos with his phone, mostly of his kids in the car, but one happened to show the fender he was accused of scratching. It wasn't detailed enough to fully exonerate him for the underbody, but it gave him leverage. After a week of back and forth, he got the fender charge removed, but still had to pay a reduced fee for the underbody damage, just because his initial inspection wasn't thorough enough. Don't make the same mistake. Knowing these rules helps you keep your hard-earned money. Now, you might think you know all about checking in for your flight, but what if I told you there's a simple phrase that can prevent you from missing your flight entirely, even if you're running late? I've shared a lot of insider tips with you, from avoiding rental car scams to navigating hidden check-in rules. We've covered everything from saving a few dollars on water bottles to dodging hundreds in unexpected fees. But I've saved what I consider the most critical warning for last, because the stakes here aren't just money or data. They're your very freedom. This is about a scenario that might seem innocent at first, but can quickly spiral into a nightmare, one that I've seen play out in airport hallways more times than I care to count throughout my 50 years in aviation. Imagine 72-year-old Patricia Green, a kind-hearted widow from Vermont. She had just finished a wonderful European cruise and was on her way home, landing at New York's JFK International Airport. She was waiting for her connecting flight back to Burlington, Vermont, feeling relaxed and happy, looking forward to seeing her grandchildren. As she sat at her gate, a well-dressed, charming man, probably in his late 20s, struck up a conversation. He had an easy smile and spoke with a polished accent, telling her he was flying to a very important business meeting but was facing a small problem with his carry-on. He seemed genuinely distressed, glancing at his watch every few seconds. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry to bother you," he said, his voice laced with urgency. "But my flight is boarding in 10 minutes, and my bag is just slightly over the weight limit. I have this small, sealed package. It's just a gift for my mother. A fragile antique. Could you possibly do me a huge favor and carry it through customs for me? I'll meet you right on the other side, just past the exit." It would be a lifesaver. Patricia, with her natural kindness and a heart that always wanted to help, hesitated for only a moment. The man was so charming, so polite, and the package was small, neatly wrapped in colorful paper, hardly bigger than a small shoebox. It looked completely harmless. She nodded, her heart giving a little thump of concern, but ultimately agreeing to help a stranger in a bind. She walked through customs, the innocent-looking package clutched tightly in her hand. Every official seemed to look directly at her. Her palms grew a little sweaty, her heart pounding a nervous rhythm against her ribs. She kept scanning the crowd on the other side, expecting to see the man's reassuring smile, but he wasn't there. She waited for 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. The crowd thinned. Still no sign of him. A cold dread began to creep through her. And then 2 customs officials, having observed the interaction from a distance, approached her. Their faces were stern.
They asked her about the package, about the man who gave it to her. Patricia stammered, trying to explain, her voice trembling. The neatly wrapped box wasn't an antique gift for his mother. It contained a controlled substance, enough to land Patricia in serious trouble for many years. The problem, as I've seen it countless times, is that unscrupulous individuals often exploit the kindness and trusting nature of travelers, especially seniors like Patricia. They know that an elderly woman or a family with young children draws less suspicion. These predators use emotional manipulation tactics, preying on a traveler's desire to be helpful, to turn them into an unwitting drug mule. What happened to Patricia could happen to anyone, and the consequences are devastating. The law doesn't care if you didn't know what was inside, or if you were simply trying to be a good Samaritan. You could be facing decades in federal prison, not to mention a lifetime of shame and a permanent travel ban. The solution is absolute and non-negotiable. Never, under any circumstances, carry anything through airport security or customs for someone you don't know, no matter how charming, how insistent, or how seemingly innocent they appear. It's a hard and fast rule that can save your life and your freedom. If someone approaches you with such a request, or if you feel pressured, do not engage. Politely decline, make eye contact, and immediately report the incident to airport security or any airline staff member. Point out the individual if they're still visible. This isn't about being rude. It's about protecting yourself from becoming a pawn in a criminal operation. Your life, your future, and your reputation are simply not worth the risk of a stranger's convenience. Remember, the final gauntlet of international customs and security at places like JFK is a serious business. Officials are trained to spot suspicious behavior, and an unknown package is a red flag, no matter who is carrying it. Carry your wisdom like a passport. It's the one thing scammers can't steal from you. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and always travel smart. Knowing this one rule can literally be the difference between a pleasant trip home and a lifetime behind bars. Don't forget to like this video, share your own airport experiences and any suspicious encounters you've had in the comments below, and subscribe for more insider aviation secrets. I promise, they'll keep you flying freely and confidently.